Welcome back. In this video, we are going to see how we can integrate Spring Boot application with the ChatGPT. So let's get started. So now we will see the steps which can be used to integrate Spring Boot application with the ChatGPT. So our first step is we have to create one Spring Boot application. You can create it by using the your preferred IDE, like by using STS or IntelliJ, or you can download it directly from the Spring Initializer. And we have to add the necessary dependency for Spring Web in the pom.xml file. Okay. So now we will quickly go to the Spring Tool suite and we will start the project. So here we are on the Spring Tool suite, and this project I have already created. I have downloaded it from the Spring Initializer, and in this I have just added the web dependency. Okay, so this is the web dependency. So we are done with the step 1. Now we will see the step 2. So the step 2 says we have to create one config class which will be returning the, inside that we have to create a bean, REST template bean. Okay, and we have to use the proper annotation. So let's go and create this config class. So I'm going to create this config class in the new package that I will be calling the config package. Okay, config package, and I'm going to name it as the service config. Yep. So here we are, and we have to create a bean which should be returning the REST template. So to make this class as a configuration class, we have to annotate it with the configuration annotation, and to make this as a bean, we have to annotate it with the bean. Okay, so we are done with this step 2. So actually this OpenAI or ChatGPT, they are exposing their endpoints or the services which we can, as a Spring Boot application, if I have to call that endpoint, I can either use the REST template, or we can go for the Fin client or the web client based on your requirement or your preferability. So here I'm going to use the REST template. So that's why we need this REST template bean and all those things. Okay, so now let's go to the step 3. So step 3 says we have to do the OpenAI API setup. Okay, so what exactly it is saying, we have to create one class. So that will be OpenAI service class or anything, and in that class we are going to call the OpenAI service by using the REST template. But calling that service, we need few things. We need the token or the API key, we need the model ID. So those things we will be getting from the OpenAI portal. Okay, so now go to the Spring Tool suite and we will create this class. Okay, so here we are. So we have to create a class, and I'm going to name it as a service OpenAI service. I'm going to name it. Okay, and I'm going to place it in the service layer. So here our class is created, and we are going to annotate it with the service layer. So it should be configured, or it should be this class should be kept as a bean in the Spring container when we are going to start the application. Okay, so now here we need two things. We need the OpenAI API key, and we need the model ID. We need API key and model ID. Okay, so how we can get this API key and model ID? So I'll show you. So we can get it from the portal, OpenAI portal. So for that we have to go to the Google Chrome, or any of your favorite browser. So I'm going to the Google Chrome. So here I am on the Google Chrome. So we just have to log in. Okay, and after login you will be able to seeing this kind of a page. Okay, you will be landed to this kind of a page, and here you have to click on this API. Okay, after clicking on API you will be landing to this page, and click on this API references, and here you will be seeing the authentication. So here we can see API keys. Okay, just click on this, and here I have already generated a key. If you want to generate a key, just click on this create new secret key, and it will be generating a new secret key. Keep that with you because it is going to be helpful while calling the OpenAI service. Okay, and for getting the model ID, we have to go to this rate limits, and here you can use any of them. Okay, I am going to use this one. So now I already have this OpenAI key, OpenAI API key and this one. Okay, so now we will go to the Spring Tool suite and we will add this. So here we have added the API key, API key and model ID, which we generated from the OpenAI portal. Okay, and now we need the URL. I mean, they are exposing the services to some URL, right? So we need that URL. So that is going to be common, and so the URL. This is the URL. So this is the URL. So now we have to call this URL by passing this API key and model ID. We are going to do it by using the REST template. Okay. So here we have to first inject the REST template, the bean which we created. So that injection we are going to do it with the constructor injection. Okay. So we have injected the REST template. Now we are going to create a method which will be calling the REST template. I mean, through REST template, we will be calling the OpenAI service. Okay. And this method will be returning the string, and I'm going to name this method as a OpenAI service call. And in this method, we are going to accept this string, which is going to be the user input, like user is going to ask some question, right? So that we are going to accept as here as a variable or input variable, and I'm going to name it as a user input. Okay, so this is going to return the string. So first I'm keeping it as a null so that to avoid the exception. So now we have to pass this OpenAI API key as a header to the service. So here we have created the HTTP headers object, and we are going to pass two headers. One is the content type and other is the authorization, and this API key which we got from the API Open API portal. Okay, so now we have to create the request body. We have to send us some request, right? So here we will be creating the request body. So this is a request body in which we have to pass the model ID, and the messages we have to pass the two objects. One is role, which is a user, and the content. So this content is the user input which we are getting from the user. Okay, so now let's call the REST template, and we will call the OpenAI service, and this is a post method, right? Post for object we are going to use. Okay, so we have to pass three things here. One is the URL, which we have already created here. This is the URL. Okay, then we have to pass the request, and this is the request, and then the response, in what format we want the response. So as of now we want the response in string. Okay, so yes, and we have to accept it in some string response from AI. Okay, so this is the object we will be getting from the OpenAI service, and we are going to return it here. Okay, so now we are done with the step 3. Now we will see the step 4. So the step 4 says we have to implement the chat controller. So what exactly it is saying? We have to create a new class which will be chat controller, and which is going to be the get mapping, and we are going to get the input from the user, and we are going to pass that input to the service layer, and which will be passing to the OpenAI service. Okay, so now let's create this chat controller. So here we are going to again create a new class, and we are going to place it in the controller package. We are going to name it as a chat controller only. So to make this class as a controller class, we have to use the REST controller annotation. Okay, so now we have to create one get mapping, right? And I'm going to give this as a chat, and we are going to create one method which will be returning as the string, and we are going to name the method as calling AI. Any name I'm giving. Okay, so here we are going to use the request param, and we are going to get the input in the user input variable string user input. You can give any name, I'm just giving this. So now here we are going to call to the service layer, right? So first we have to create the object of service layer. We are going to do the auto wiring here. So OpenAI service, we're going to name it as the AI service dot, which method was there? OpenAI service call. Okay, and we are going to pass the user input, and it is returning a string, right? So we are going to accept it as a string. This, sorry, string response from AI, and we are going to return it. So yes, this was the last step. We are done with all the steps. Now let's start the application and see will it be calling to the OpenAI service or not. So we have started the application. Okay, so application is up and running, and it is running on port number 8080, which is the default port. Okay, so now let's go to the postman and try to hit. So first check the endpoint what we have created. Okay, we have created the chat. So now let's go to the postman. So here we are on the postman, localhost 8080 and chat, and the params we are going to give the user input who is the PM of India. So now let's send the request. Okay, so it has given us the response. If you see, the response is some object, and in this object you will be seeing something called message, role, and here is a content. Okay, as an AI language model, I can provide you with the latest information. Narendra Modi is the current PM of India.